Ashish, thank you so much for joining. I have to go on record to say this, and especially in this time when we are all reflecting about everything, that, for the Indian ecosystem and the startup and entrepreneurial ecosystem, you are one entrepreneur whom we all would agree and say has built the business in the right way. And you are an entrepreneur who plays the long innings. And I was just revisiting the number that you started big. Tree Entertainment in 1999 and launched Book My Show in 2007. You've done it the right way, built it in the right way, and standing strong over the years. And huge respect. And then today to watch this, there are like thousands of people who have gone live, and we want to hear your candid best. Tell us, what has this COVID time meant for your business, and then the space, the whole sector? Because from outside to all of us, it looks like that the business you are in would be impacted the most.
Well, I would be foolish to deny that it is completely impacted. Uh, but look, we've seen this before. We've seen this twice before, once during the global financial crisis, but a lot of companies saw it at that time. By then, a lot of internet companies were, already born by 2006, 2007. So they had all seen that. And it did not impact them that much because there was a lot of fundraising that had already just taken place. But as far as we are concerned, we saw the dot-com bust, which was in 2001, 2002 when it hit India. And that was brutal. And that was brutal for us to have a memory bank that reminds us all the time that this can come again. And you've got to be conservative, build a business over a period of time and do it in a manner that plays the long game. And so we were aware that things like that could completely come again. And our memory bank served us right, where we have now looked at the lessons that we learned in 2001, 2002, and we've just sort of revisited all the things that we've learned at that time and just implemented them. So this is going to be long, it's going to be hard, it's going to be deep, and nobody knows the end of it, right? Nobody knows, and you've got to be reactive. And the same happened in 2001, 2002. Nobody had a clue, and then it took a while for the markets to bounce back.
But how are you, so I had just recently spoken to Ajay Bijli, and he said that, intrinsically we are outdoor people, and he sees that things will get back to normal and people will go out, and entertainment, as we know, watching movies, going to theaters and events, they will come back. But I want to ask you, and he also said that, you don't know, the time frame could be July, one till the vaccine comes out, we don't know what it will be. But how are you seeing the space? You've been in this space for long.
Look, I feel that in good times, people forget the bad times, and in bad times, people forget the good. And memories are very short. And so what tends to happen is that just like life, which is cyclical, just like the stock market, which is cyclical, just like businesses, life is cyclical. And there are good times and there are bad times. And you've got to remind yourselves of the days that will come back. So there is no question that humans are social animals and we are going to come back. When will you come back? In what form will you come back? What will be the nature of that comeback? And those are questions that you need to answer. The social fabric, as the way we knew it, has been impacted dramatically. Today, you go into an elevator and you're in a confined space and people don't know whether to shake hands, stay close, not stay close. I mean, it's already playing tricks on you. Yeah. When you meet a friend, suppose you're exchanging something, somebody's getting a beer for you, somebody's getting a box of mangoes, and there's a friend who's come and delivered it outside the gate or whatever. You don't know whether to shake hands, give him a hug or not. And he could be, or she could be your best friend. So I just feel that social fabric in a very short period of time has got impacted. But will things come back? For sure. In what nature will they come back and how soon? And what are the steps that you're going to take from now until then is going to be the key lessons or the things that you want to implement. So for example, I feel that one is, of course, the vaccine. But my view on this is you've got to learn to live with this virus. You have to build herd immunity. My sense is that millions of Indians have already probably got it. And it's not, our mortality rate obviously is low because of many reasons. It could be UV light, heat, BCG vaccine, malarial overlay. A lot of Indians, unfortunately, are very slim because of lack of nutrition, and that probably helps them in this case, because once your BMI is below 28, then you have a better chance of fighting this. And so we're a young nation, so there could be many reasons for the mortality rate being down, and obviously the lockdown. But the point is that until you don't build the herd immunity and start getting people out, you're not going to be able to solve this problem. And obviously testing, contact tracing, antigen-based testing, antibody testing, and eventually finally helping the people who have underlying health issues and the elderly is the key component of the strategy. But the vaccine, by the time it comes out and everybody is inoculated, it's going to be a while. So are you saying that until then you're not going to start any economic activity? That is probably not possible. So my sense is, if you saw some of the ticketing, I believe Disneyland went on sale and it was sold out. So my sense is that the favorite pastime for Indians is movies and cricket. Things will come back to normal. They may surprise us where they may come back sooner than we think they will, but you will have to take some very stringent measures and life will change, whether it's washing hands, keeping a social distance, checkerboard seating, having more shows in cinemas to have lesser density of seating, and therefore killing your intermission and the rollover time of having alternate shows in screens so that they could be deep cleansed. There could be a whole host of things, which is temperature checks. There could be a ton of things that we're putting down for live events and as well as movies. But once people realize and recognize that they've got to live with it and they are feeling a little more confident to step out, where masks will be given for free, like you get glasses in cinemas when you go for 3D. And some of those measures will be taken, but people will eventually realize that you will have to live with it. And when you start living with it, the new normal will be the new normal, and things that we do in place will try and put those checks and balances in place. But eventually, I think it's going to be long. It's to get back to the life as we knew it. My sense is it's going to take another 6 to 8 months minimum.
Yeah, yeah. Ashish, tell us about Book My Show, right? In the last 2 months, it would have been very severely impacted. And from what we were observing, anyways, you were diversifying from just ticketing, movie ticketing, to a lot of things today Book My Show stands for and does. Tell us, if we could get a glimpse of your business, what's happening over there.
See, the first thing is when this pandemic hit, I felt that the first thing is that we realized that this is going to be long, it's going to be deep. And so we cut costs, right? And we had to. We had no option because, when you can't be like ostriches with your head in the sand. You've got to be able to react nimbly and be quick and not have this vision that, hey, listen, this is a great time where, deals are cheap and this is going to go away and wish it's going to go away. You've got to be able to react week on week, month on month to things that are evolving, because nobody has a playbook for this. Nobody was prepared. As far as we are concerned, we were always a company that helped people step out. And whether you went to the movies or you went to a concert, we became a concert promoter. We built a production arm. So we knew that this, we were always about stepping out and selling tickets. And we diversified into concert promotion and live events and doing a bunch of other things. We always had a digital content strategy for people, keeping people engaged. And, because our business is a weekend business from Friday to Sunday. But you have a lot of people that you want to engage from Monday to Thursday as well. And so we had a core group which worked from monthly active users to daily active users to see how DAOs get impacted. It's just that some of this we are now fast tracking and doubling down on. So we're expanding our categories of content, not just sticking to certain things that we wanted. For example, we've launched the watch guide. So what we've now done is, if you go on to Book My Show, you'll be able to see a beautiful product which across OTT platforms tells you how to keep yourself entertained. And it sends you reminders. And the beauty about that is it's based on our data platform, on personalization. So we know what sort of movies you watch, what sort of concerts you've gone for. And basis that, we're giving you a watch guide which gives you recommended content across OTT platforms to keep yourself entertained. Because we believe this is not the time to profiteer. Everybody is hurting. Everybody is going through the pain. We've had 20 years of love where consumers have actually paid us top dollars to keep themselves entertained uncomplainingly. This is that one time we want to give back during this period, because everybody's impacted. Nobody has any work, no business. And even if you could make the $50, we don't want to do that. We're saying, listen, let's not charge the consumers, but Having said that, we're seeing some green shoots of revenue coming through sponsors and partners, where the digital content that we put out on the fifth day of the lockdown, I believe, Book My Show went digital. Our engagement parameters on the digital side are, given the period, are astounding. We've got tens of millions of consumers that still come to the platform. And out of that, millions have already engaged with us on the digital content that we put out there. It's free. You can register. You get a reminder. You see it on other platforms. And but people are coming, registering, and we've seen concurrent streams of shows that we've put up, where we've had Live from HQ, where we had Veer Das and we had Pratik Kuhar and Indian Ocean perform from their homes. And we had 15,000, 20,000 concurrent users on the platform watching that concert live. We've had Stay Fit India, this third version of this challenge, where we've put out celebrities who are doing workshops. So there's a ton of content that we're constantly putting out there. Then our content piece around movies and entertainment, the watch guide. So we're trying a bunch of things to try and stay nimble, put things out there, see what works, what doesn't work. There are green shoots of revenue, which are great experiments to know what the future holds for us. But it would be foolhardy to say that things would change in the current set of business. So for that, the only thing that you can do is cut costs, cut your fixed costs, look at all the unnecessary expenditures, put your head down, stay nimble, stay humble, and then lead by example. So for example, the founders and the leadership team now has taken a 50% cut to say that, look, we will do what it needs and what it takes, because while the going was good, we were all happy and things were fine, but now it's all to rally around and do the right things. So look, this is temporary, and I haven't lost a day of sleep. I keep the schedule going from Monday to Friday. Work is on Zoom. We fast-tracked a lot of product builds, a lot of innovation. We're going through a consulting project to future-proof the business, which we've already zeroed down on where we see the new lines of revenues coming from 2023, 2024, and what should the contribution be. So those theses are already out there. Whether we go out to prove them or no is up to us now. So we're working harder than we ever did. It's just that it's a new way of working, and we're working on different things.
Yeah, that's why I'm having this conversation with you, because I was sure you'll be very busy defining now and defining the future. And here I want to, Ashish, ask you, because somewhere I see Book My Show as such a phenomenal brand. I want to bring in the role of OTTs, because OTTs have become so big, and especially this time is showing the consumption there is growing. India is consuming a lot of content over there. How do you see that as a medium? How do you see OTTs growing? And last question I want to bring in is, the Multiplex Association of India had challenged, had requested, not challenged, had requested OTTs that they should delay the release of movies, because some of the producers are looking at releasing movies on OTTs. How do you look at this space? How do you think from a standpoint of Book My Show? How do you find that space? And third is this whole multiplexes and OTTs. Do you see the shift towards OTTs from multiplexes?
So firstly, you spoke about cash reserve. So Book My Show, we've always had a very clear strategy: raise capital when you don't need it. Yeah. So we're sitting on a ton of cash as well. And today, anybody who's liquid and has cash can experiment, innovate, think about mergers and acquisitions, can think about acqui-hires, can think about slum sales, and innovate. Because if at the back of your head, you've always got this fear and you're looking over your shoulder that I don't have cash, I have 2 months to live, I have 3 months to live, there's no way your mind will be able to do anything, or you'll be able to implement or put together any strategies in terms of implementation of what you've thought of. So cash is king. And luckily, we've always raised money when we didn't need to. We were very conservative on calling ourselves, hey, you're a unicorn. How much money? What's your valuation? What's your top line? What's your TPV? All that BS that everybody keeps talking about, right? TPV, what's your CAC over LTV? How much have you, those are all vanity metrics. At the end of the day, how much is the cash in the bank? How much profit do you make? How low is your cost, and how conservative is your cash burn? Today, suddenly this pandemic, everybody moves like herds, and now that is the buzzword. I mean, that's 101 of business. That's 101 principles of life. I mean, why would you run a business where you're going to keep losing? But of course, then you've got to have some vanity metrics to some guy sitting in a black hole somewhere as an investor. You've got to go and show the guy that these are my metrics, because you don't have real metrics. Now you want to show these metrics. So anyways, today, everybody says, oh, you guys are the poster boys because you've done something right. We just did what we do all the time, every time of our lives. And these are the times that, as Warren Buffett says, you know who's skinny dipping when the tide pulls back. And so we have the cash reserve to be able to confidently speak the way we are today. Coming back to the business, look, I feel that let's go back to basics. India is a hot, humid, harsh country outside. We've got very harsh, a very harsh environment with honking, traffic on the streets. The weather is really harsh. Either it's raining or it's very hot. So we tend to be an indoors nation, right? And therefore, cinemas always sold themselves and prided themselves in saying that it's 70 Rageshwari air-conditioned cinema. The USP was that it was air-conditioned, right? Yeah. And therefore, people stayed indoors. We are a country with the highest amount of sunshine, with the highest number of vitamin D deficient people on earth. That's because we don't like going out in the sun. We like being in air-conditioned environments. If this was LA or this was in any other part of the world, you'll be al fresco dining outside, having a drink. You can't, have a coffee outside al fresco. It's honking. It's this. The environment is very harsh. Unlike Bangalore, where it's, but then pollution comes in, right? In Delhi and Bangalore. So there are always factors. So we're an indoor nation. If you look at Canada, you look at other countries, people like to be indoors to see ice hockey. There are arenas when it's extremely cold out there. So we like indoor entertainment. That's a given. Having said that, I feel that movies is a big part of our generational, relay, as I call it. In the US or any other part of the world, there's Friday night football. Grandparents take their sons who take their children and they go and watch Friday night football. If you, David Goldberg, who works for us in the US, in summer last year, to his 12-year-old son, took him for 8 music festival concerts as a summer vacation gift, where they flew all over the country. Tell me which parent does that in India, right? Where you go, it's a part of your DNA, it's a part of a culture. What is a part of our culture? My father took me to the movies. I take my son to the movies. My father's father took him to the movies, and this is what they did, right? They went to the movies, and today birthday parties are celebrated in movies. I want to watch, I want to eat popcorn. That's a thing to do. I'm missing popcorn. So I feel that it's a social fabric and a generational thing. So while OTT is important, it's also important to scratch below the surface to see the scale of the OTT. There's a lot of noise. Look at the number of paying customers. There are platforms with 60 to 70 million paying customers. How many of them are paying? Today, all of us are watching some of the international OTT guys, and that's what I do, right? From 10:30, 11 in the night. How many of us have smart TVs? How many of us have boxes, internet connection, and then watch that? The number is between 1.5 to 2 million people. And that too, there is a price point issue, right? And that's why there were a low price. So I am saying OTT with live entertainment and live events, as well as going to the movies, will coexist. It's not going to be one against the other. They will coexist. We have a social fabric to go out with people. We have smaller homes in India. We have more cramped environments. In Southeast Asia, people don't cook meals at home. They have very small kitchens because they eat out of a bag. In India, we like to step out, and that will continue to happen. What velocity, what change, what will the demographic, the younger demographic, will they take to it? Will they? I only feel that it's a generational thing which you hand over from generation to generation. So my sense is that I'm pretty confident that memories are short. When the attacks happened in Bombay, when the attacks happened on the planes, people went back to those same hotels, people stayed in hotels. So I'm saying while this is long, deep, and we don't know the depth of it, memories are also short. Having said that, finally, I also believe that all businesses must diversify. While there is premium to be a monoline business, but if you are going to do that spray and pray strategy, there's this classical thing, hey, I want to be in every place, everywhere. Why do you want to be everywhere? Well, I've got a set of customers. I'm going to get the customers for one reason, but I'm going to use that as a flywheel. These are great words, which we hear here in our VC investing. It's a flywheel to build another business. What am I doing? I'm doing customer acquisition. It's a part of that. So you window dress by taking marketing dollars and say it's a part of, it's not going to last. If you think in India, For the first 10 years of my career, when I started Book My Show in 99, for the first in the 2000s, I heard India is going the America way. Suddenly in the last 10 years, I heard from 2010 to 2020, all I've heard is India is going the China way. Are bhai, India is going to go the India way. There's no US way and China way. India is going to go the India way. The faster you wake up to that reality, there are enough skeletons. People forget businesses, online businesses, because one fine day they disappear. There were social platforms, e-commerce platforms. Please go and look at your own data to see how many guys have disappeared. And then you will realize that you can't be, there is a premium to be a monoline business. There is also a premium to diversify and, ensure that your business has revenues coming from other places, and you do it in a sensible manner. But if you think, oh, listen, I'm going to be in 20 businesses, I'm going to be this platform play. Well, good luck to you. Let's see how it works. In China, please understand, there was a Chinese wall. There were ring fences. It was protectionism. Today, there is no YouTube in China. There is no Facebook in China. There's no WhatsApp in China. There is no payment allowed in China. It's all closed. And then if you give a free run for 20 years and say, listen, these are companies which have this. I mean, is that in India? The Japanese are here, the Chinese are here, the Americans are here, the Indians are here. It's an open economy. You've got to be able to do what's right for your customers, for your business, and compete at a level playing field.
Yeah, but again, just you see OTT growing in India? Do you see value in that space? Because they are
For
so,
sure.
yeah,
I mean, please understand, India, I can be politically incorrect. Look, there are 3 Indias. We can keep saying, and with this whole migrant labor and the lockdown, it's come more to the fore. And I'm glad it is. Like how the Me Too movement got it up, it always existed. I think this is what it's done, right? And brought it as a conversation point. You've got to understand that we talk about India from a foreigner's point of view. Oh, we are many states with different food, different culture, different languages. Yeah, we grew up here. We always knew that. That's a foreigner's view of India. The India that we live in is 3 Indias, the United Kingdom of India, the top 100 million people like you and me and probably your listeners, which is we go to English schools, we go to private schools, we have private healthcare. We are at home right now. And what we are more bothered about is, is Nature's Basket open? Today the Alfonso Mango's delivery has not come. Oh, Raw Pressery has stopped doing that. Is there pasta? Where can I get my sauce? Amazon is not delivering this. I think there are a lot of questions that the United Kingdom of India asks, which are very different from what the Brazil of India asks, which is the 400 million Indians, which today are struggling. And they are your emerging middle class, right? They are the ones who now have data connectivity. They have content. They're watching content online, which is OTT platforms. They may not be paying for it, but they're watching, right? Well, somebody put out that Ramayana or Mahabharata is the biggest watched program globally, and everybody's talking about Game of Thrones. So if you look at that, that's the Brazil of India, who is the emerging middle class. And every few years, 20, 30 million of these guys will go into the United Kingdom of India. And the first thing they want to do is better education, better healthcare, and for their own children, for the next generation. And the marginalized society of India, I call it the Africa of India. That's why I said it's politically incorrect. But it's sad to see that the 100 million aren't doing enough for the Africa of India, the United Kingdom of India. You don't need to take from the rich or to a rich country to serve the poor, a poor country. This is within your own country, within your own area, where you are living in expensive homes and there's a slum right next to you. You can create impact within your 1 kilometer radius. You don't have to go cross border. And I think if you start defining United Kingdom of India, the Brazil of India, and the Africa of India, you will start to serve your communities better. What is Book My Show doing? So what we did was, we have a charity fund called Book a Smile. And you're aware of that, right? We have the 1111 rupee. And what we do is we take that money and we put it to causes around music, art, theater, and to help kids, right? Elevate their cultural sort of nuances or things that we can help with BMC schools. We put music programs. We took a 20% budget out of that, and we have now implemented it against COVID-related causes. So whether it was hazmat suits, whether it was PPE, frontline worker help, what we did with feeding daily wage workers. So the Book My Show cafeteria, we have a 100,000 office in Bombay, our headquarters. The 6th floor is our cafeteria. For the last 30 days, every morning, we are cooking 1,000 meals in breakfast and serving frontline workers, which is the hospital, the BMC staff workers in our area, which is Andheri, Vile Parle, that area in Juhu, and the police chowkis. So they didn't want lunch, but they wanted breakfast. So we're being helpful to our community, and we've served close to 29 or 30,000 meals, where 1,000 meals are cooked in our cafeteria with our cooks, with our security staff, and then they get dispatched, which is a healthy, balanced meal with a fruit every morning. Then we've allocated 20% budget from Book a Smile into COVID cases. On top of that, people have voluntarily, in spite of the situation, put in money where they've donated to certain charities. And then, to be helpful, what we've done with the community is, with BMC, we started our helpline. So our customer care NPS is one of the highest in the country. So we said, how can we be helpful to our city, which is getting slammed? So today, when you call 1916, which is the BMC helpline, and you go to the extension 4, it actually lands on Book My Show. And we are serving 1,000 calls for giving information to the citizens of Bombay to say, what is it that you can do, and the information dissemination in partnership with the Bombay Municipal Corporation. And on top of that, to get health workers from green zones, ventilator operators, ICU operators, dialysis machine operators, nurses, frontline. There are a lot of green zones in Maharashtra. While Bombay is a containment and a red zone, we have started an entire bot and information where we put it up on Book My Show, and we've got more than 5,000 respondents in 3 days who are healthcare workers who are willing to move from green zones into the red zone and come to Bombay. So that's how we're being helpful, right? And so it's very, very important, as we discuss and this discourse around valuations, how are you protecting your company, and how much money are you saving, how much money are you making, how are you diversifying? There's also a discourse and a dialogue on how are you being helpful to your communities?
Yeah.
How are you reacting in times like these to stand up and be counted?
Yeah.
And then the other stakeholder, and my last piece on that is, the other stakeholder are employees. It is also a responsibility. And how do you see yourself as a responsible organization? So what we did was, we've created a human chain. So 1,600 employees of Book My Show across 7 countries. We're in Singapore, we're in Malaysia, we're in Dubai, we're in Indonesia, we're in India, Sri Lanka, and in other cities in India. We have a human chain where everybody is divided. We have 115 groups with an administrator. Every morning at 10 a.m. in the morning and 10 p.m. in the evening, we check on each other. That is everybody okay? Are you okay? Are you mentally fine? We're running physical fitness classes thrice a week on our internal platform, where people log in and they keep themselves physically free. We have signed up for free people to upskill themselves and do courses for free. So, and then, it's important to have all your stakeholders. You have a fiduciary responsibility to your consumers, to your shareholders, and to your employees and the community at large. And these are your 4 pillars. If you can keep all of them and create a bouquet where you are sustainable, as well as doing the right thing for all these 4 pillars, then, that's the only thing that you can keep yourself busy with in times like these.
Yeah. Ashish, I'm just saying, and on behalf of everyone who's watching and who will watch this, and myself, that's why we have so much of respect for you, right? Like, yeah, because it's not at this time. I think there is a purpose which also comes across in whatever you've been doing, and yeah, you are the right role model, because I've never seen you talk about valuations and all that. Of course, those things, you are building a very large and meaningful business, but these are also equally important for you. And yeah, but coming back, I also want to ask you, you have seen the 2001 bust, you have seen, though India did not feel so much, but you've seen 2008 also. Mumbai felt that 2008 compared to the rest of India, and now you're seeing this. You have so many experiences of seeing the downturns and the low times. What were some of your learnings? And if you had to go back, as you said, to your memory bank and tell all the entrepreneurs, how did you, because I think you're a long innings player. So what have you learned? And what are some of the things that you practiced and are practicing now to grow?
See, the first thing, Shradha, is to remind yourselves that life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. A lot of entrepreneurs, when they start a business, they start thinking about themselves as investors. The day they launch a business, they think about an exit. Mera valuation kya hoga? How much money will I make? Did you start a business for the passion and the dream, or a problem that you wanted to solve for? Then why aren't you completing it to its logical end? Rather than saying, hey, listen, you know what? How can I cash out? How much money can I make? You start thinking, oh, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love words like that. It's like almost like saying I'm a serial killer. There's no badge of honor there. Build a business. Within that, find things to do and farm out new things. If you want to, serially be involved in other things, Be an angel investor. Help other entrepreneurs succeed in their dream and pay it forward, and along the way make money and be successful. So I think I have very clear principles around that. If you're committing yourself, then commit yourself, right? Some of the biggest organizations globally and in India weren't built overnight. And they were built by entrepreneurs committing themselves to the long course. So um, be a marathon runner. That's number one. Number two, don't get impacted by things which externally don't matter, right? The environment will keep changing. Don't lose sleep over it. You can only focus on the quality of your input. It's too hot out there, don't complain. Have a beer, have a cold drink. If it's too cold out there, have a whiskey, have a coffee. I mean, how can you complain about the environment in which you're not in control of? So continue to stay the course, focus on the quality of your input. The third thing is stay in the money. Stay in the money not by just raising capital. Do commercial deals, do sensible deals, try and make a profit, try and reduce your burn, focus on your EBIT and your bottom line. And of course, there are growth engines, and you've got to be able to scale to the new heights and reinvest that capital in newer businesses. But just by saying, hey, listen, I'm going to get some flywheel and I'm going to use this data. There's this whole conversation around, I'm going to get this data and I'm going to do things around it. How are you going to make money on that data? And so it's very important to ask the right questions and constantly challenge yourself. Surround yourselves with people that make you happy, investors that support your vision and, are like-minded, and you can raise a ton of cash from a ton of people. But it's about that magic that comes together when you find the right people, just like you find the right team. And so when you're building your business, I also remind ourselves that, things are temporary, memories are short. But if you're right by your consumer and you're fair to your consumer and you're right by your consumer, they will never disappoint you. They will always come back. And it's about these tenets and principles that are very, very simple. They're almost simplistic, right, in nature. And if you have those, how do you innovate? So we are utilizing this time to innovate. You hide behind a lot of business as usual. Right now, there's no business as usual. And so the teams are working doubly hard, 14, 16-hour days. They're working Saturdays and Sundays. And we are all on video chats and calls. And to make sure that everybody's morale is high and we're constantly delivering stuff. And so when we're out of the gate, when we're out of the pandemic, we want to be the first out of the gate. We want to be the stronger one. And unfortunately, the stronger will get stronger and the weaker will get weaker. And it's our responsibility to pull those guys up who are weaker. And in the sense that there could be great businesses out there who will fail due to lack of capital or lack of strategy, or they couldn't survive. It's up to you to pull them up, lend a helping hand, fold them in, invest some money in them, see them succeed over a period of time. Then along the way, you create value for yourself and they make money for you. Great. But it's also your responsibility to pull them up. I think these are things that are very, very important to remind yourself that life is a marathon and it's about consistency. It's about how you personally take time off on Saturdays and Sundays. It's about how you take time 4-5 times a year. What interests do you have outside of your work? Like I race boats, I sail every weekend. I've been doing that for 20 years. It's a passion for me. And therefore, when you have a balanced life in terms of your work, life, family, personal goals and development, and you impart and imbibe that in your organization, and you do that with your teams as well, then you're building a winning team over a long period of time and a winning culture, so to speak. But if you pride yourself with saying, okay, I'm going to do this lockdown in the company and we're going to do these sprint cycles and burn everybody out, not everybody has that same stamina.
Yeah. Ashish, I can keep on hearing you. Coming to this, many people have asked, so I've clubbed it all together.
Sure.
For you, you've been in this business since 1999 and you've seen the curve, the growth, and you're talking India is not China or US, which is true. And if from that lens, if you look at the space, what do you think, and I've clubbed it all together, what do you think of esports? What do you think of gaming? Because we're seeing a lot of investments also happening in gaming business, content, and players like TikTok and opportunities like that, because you look at the Hindi market, then everyone is saying, and then you saw in the last 1 or 2 years, it has become like the hot space. And overall in entertainment, the opportunities. So how are you looking at all these spaces?
So let's start with e-gaming. Look, gaming is here to stay. There is no question. The younger demographic of India, at least urban India, the top 100 million, right, are taking to gaming quite a lot. They may not be on console gaming, which is PlayStations and Wii's, because they are very expensive. India's purchasing power is still not as high at scale. So your top 10 million can probably afford it, but the rest of the country can't. And also, you've got to recognize in the US and other markets where you're talking about this, they have multi screens at home. They have 4 televisions, 5 televisions. One can be dedicated to gaming while the parent is watching something else. In India, many homes have one screen where the dadi wants to watch Ramayan, but the father wants to watch news, and the kid will come into gaming. He'll get a slap and say, "Bhago yahan se." So you've got to be able to put it in context. But gaming on the personal device is going to pick up, and therefore it's going to farm to the Brazil of India a lot of casual gaming, right? A little bit of games, put a little bit of money, because betting in India is not legal, and therefore this becomes a quasi to do with bitcoins or cash or other things. So I think gaming in India is here to stay for the younger demographic. It's only going to get bigger. In what form and shape it takes, we'll have to observe and watch. But if you were to say, listen, I'm going to double down and spend a ton of cash to do this, I have seen through people that have done live gaming and events have lost a ton of money. And so a lot of the money is coming from mobile players and chipset manufacturers and console manufacturers. And therefore, it saves the day because there's a lot of sponsorship money. So it's really become a sponsorship play. It's almost like saying, I'll put up an exhibition, but I have sponsorships for that. I've not seen it at scale yet, but it will grow, it'll build. And you've got to be able to react over a period of time. But casual gaming on mobile, on devices, is here to say, we're a waiting country. Please understand, you wait in a milkman, you wait in a train, you wait in a line for a bus, you sit in a bus, you take 2 hours to reach what takes you 15 minutes. We are a waiting country, and we are okay to wait. Plumber bol raha hai, wo aaj 8 baje aayega, wo 8 baje aayega, but 4 din baad. So you are a waiting country, and we haven't gotten out of that. So when you wait, you engage, and when you engage, you play something, right? So you're always in a train, you're always in a bus, you're always in an Uber or an Ola, and you're 1.5 hours away. So we're a waiting country, and so there's something to do at any given point of time. You may use social networks like Instagram, TikTok. Why are people watching? Because there is a lot of waiting time. Anywhere else in the world, if you reach in 15 minutes, you've got a big screen at home, you have other ways to engage and entertain yourself. Here you're confined to a space, you're confined in a place, you're watching this, and you're constantly doing that. So I think it's here to stay. Now, since you spoke about TikTok, I've seen the rise. It's regional. It's addressed a market which other social platforms did not, right? I think WhatsApp's penetration is about 350, 400 million. The more they regionalize, it's a platform where it's got a very, very high, critical mass. And so if they regionalize, they do a lot of other things which they are planning to now. And they've also been reacting quickly now. The new app allows you to do 8 calls concurrently, video calls. It will be a tough competitor to crack. However, with things like TikTok, which has taken to middle India, where there's a lot of content, and what they do intelligently is that they brand that video with TikTok, so it's always constantly there. It's like those ads which have the logo constantly there. Having said that, I think the key will be on how is it going to be monetized. I think WhatsApp with the Facebook platform has figured it out, because they're in the data business. They monetize one way or the other to augment or give you bursts or posts which further a business, and they're going to be launching or already are in the pipeline of launching payments and a lot of other things, right? It'll be interesting to see how TikTok monetizes. So while the scale is there, people are engaging. There's, again, the metrics are there on monthly active users, how many downloads, how many people, all of it is there. It'll be interesting to see that quantum leap in terms of how are they going to monetize that. And that's something which will be interesting. We've had a lot of social platforms in the past. I don't know if people remember MySpace and Orkut. Nobody uses them today, right? And I think there were platforms, and there will always be platforms. But the guys that will survive will need survivability through monetization. And so if they can monetize, they will be here to stay and stick. If they don't, it could be a fad which could last 6 months or 6 years, eventually will disappear. That's my view.
But if you look at, because you've actually shaped to a large extent the entertainment and a lot of the way India consumes digital or uses digital. I would say, if you had to say, hey, these are a few exciting things for me or from my lens, areas which have monetizing opportunity.
Yeah. Look, I think digital radio is here to stay. Because we never penetrated through FM. FM, because of the licensing, Anywhere else in the world, you have college radio, you have multi stations in every city, and it's a very local flavor. It's like, spirit comes from the source, wine comes from the region, and beer is hyper local. FM is like the beer, right? And your television and newspapers are different. So FM, usually anywhere else in the world, is hyper local. And I think digital has the means to fill that gap, and be very personalized based on your regional, local, your data science around your personalization, and then read all your ID tags, and then give you when you skip or increase the volume of a song, they're tracking that as well to say, oh, these are the kind of songs that you like. So I think that's one big area on digital consumption. The other is snackable content, which is what you're seeing on TikTok and forwards. And right now, the world sitting with this pandemic at home has no other business to do. It's just on social platforms, and you're seeing that same information swirling around, right? So there's an information overload. Once people go back to normal, some of this will sort of start dying down. Having said that, television, big screens, smart TVs, boxes coming will be a slow, will be a linear but a very slow progression, because there's a lot of capital expenditure. But it's very interesting to see what will happen with the 400 million of India. I would observe that, because today, with mobile operators like Jio, where the cost of data is so low, the penetration, suddenly they've added capacity. They've tripled or quadrupled India's capacity, which didn't exist. I mean, what they've done is sort of revolutionary, right? In terms of getting data to people. You look at a watchman, you look at a driver today, he's constantly watching a full-fledged feature film, or he's watching series on that. It's not the same experience, but they are watching that. It's interesting to see how that will get monetized over a period of time. So I think for people in the 400 million and the 700 million of India and the younger demographic, getting onto newer platforms is going to be, whether it comes through gaming or snackable content or long form content, is going to be the order of the day. It is. And for those ultimate experiences, they will want to step out. And it's how you play in the regionalization, how you play in music, what do you do for esports, what do you do for regular sports. And those would be incumbent on companies like us to make sure that you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
They see disposable incomes will go up. People will want more experiences. And this you've seen traditionally globally.
Yeah.
Even in spite of the advent of large format screens, digital penetration, large format gaming, console gaming, globally, anywhere else in the world, in the Western world, the live events business in the last 3 years hasn't had it better, because people have wanted to see those experiences. And digital almost supports some of that before and after.
Yeah. Ashish, now I'm going to ask you, I don't know if it is professional or personal, but the question is that I want to get inside your mind and understand, your decision making and how you have, over the years run your business. Because one of the things I have not seen you talk or, talk or celebrate is all these valuations. You are a unicorn, if we may say so. And you have built a very large, not only Indian, but global business. You are, and Book My Show is a brand. More importantly, it's like, it's a brand that you like, that stays, people know. I want to, but the thing that stands out and which is not part of our conversation, and maybe you've also not encouraged that conversation, is, you built, I feel, from whatever I have observed, that you build the business in the very, very right way, a little old-fashioned way, right way, not, flashed your numbers or stuff like that. Tell us this whole process where you built it, because today for me, you are a person 1999 to now 2020, standing, being there, doing good for the society also. How have you built a unicorn, which is like the lexicon today, and also in the right way? What do you think, what goes in your mind when you take decisions, when you think of numbers, when you think of money? And please share, because we all will learn.
Yeah. So look, money is a byproduct of your success. And if you start focusing, and look, I'm a student of Vedanta, and Adi Kalyaniwala is my Vedanta mentor. We run classes in office, and it comes from those one-on-one principles of living. I mean, I'm saying, look, I'm no saint, but the point is that, and far from it, the point is that it's very important to realize that what are the metrics, and remind yourself every day, what is a valuation number or a metric going to get you at the end of the day? It's a vanity metric. I mean, honestly, what is it going to get you? The point I'm trying to make is, whatever your valuation is a byproduct of the things that you put in. The valuation in a lot of cases is artificial because the next investor needs to invest the money. The first guy that puts in, it's his business to push the guy, push entrepreneurs. And that's why I said at the head of the conversation that you need your right investors and people who you can trust and build a bond with over a period of time. Money is freely available today. There's a lot of angel investment. There's Series A, Series B. In our time, these were, not even words that we had heard of. And today you have growth capital, and capital, when they need to put money, they call it some other color and some other name, but it's still money at the end of the day. But you have to realize how much you're diluting. And the more companies die out of indigestion than starvation. Book My Show did a very big commercial transaction worth hundreds of crores. And I'm telling you, hundreds of crores. And it was announced a while back without giving a 0% of equity. It was a commercial transaction, which was symbiotic, and it was a strong, powerful, long-reaching 5-year transaction. Why are more and more companies not thinking about doing dhanda like dhanda should be done? Think about what your value systems are. Think about what value you bring and what is the value that you can give somebody else and do a transaction. Why is every conversation about diluting your equity? I mean, I don't understand that, right? And because it's the easiest part. Equity is the most expensive way of fundraising. If you think your business is strong, you think your fundamentals are strong, why don't you take debt and service the debt up to a point, right? Don't be very debt ridden. If you think that you can do 30, 40, 50% returns and debt is coming to you at 8.75, have the guts to go and do it.
Yeah.
But nahi hai na guts aapke paas, because aapka revenue to khokhla hai andar, aapka metrics khokhla hai. So then you are scared even to borrow money at 8.75. So I'm saying if you're really confident, then you should be able to do that. So the point is focus on the metrics constantly and not bother about the valuation, because it will come. It's a scorecard. If you are bothered about getting 90% in math, but not going to get the right books, study with the right tutor, do the right things, and then not focus on the quality of that input, then by going to God and praying one day before your exam, you're not going to get 90.
Were you always thinking like that? No, I won't have to ask you. Were you, when you started in 1999, or let's say 2007, were you always like this? Were you always clear in this, or did it come with time?
No, it came with time. Look, it certainly came with time, but we were early to catch on and latch on to things which we discovered and we felt were right and never got swayed. Not getting swayed is more important, and surrounding yourselves with the right people. Today, the leadership team at Book My Show, if you come into our organization, some people may call it old world, but I call it sensible. Some of the best companies globally, you come, we have disruptive 25, 27-year-old engineers, young business development people, full of passion and raw energy. But you've got people in our company who are 62, who are people who are 55. I'm 46 myself. So we have this gray-haired experience layer in the company versus this collision that happens with these young people, but everybody is respected and at par. First name basis, open culture and open door policy. Everybody's collaborating. There is no sir and that sort of disruption. Because if you just surround yourselves with young people and you don't have this experience today of knowing when things like that hit you, what is that experience that you can dig deep into, which you can advise and mentor the young? And where is that raw passion and energy of theirs, which tells them, let's move in this direction. I'll build it for you in 5 days. Yeah. And then you harness that energy in the right direction. So I think companies need to wake up to that reality that you need a broad spectrum of quality talent and surround yourselves with a quality team and remind yourself every day about things which are the metrics of the business. Why are you doing what you're doing? How are you going to do it? You have to be aggressive. We've done probably the maximum number of M&As or acquisitions in the last 6 months. We've done over 5 or 6 unannounced. We've not even told anybody. Done, pipeline over with. You don't want to tom-tom about it. Call the press. Have some vanity metric. It's the stupidest thing to do is to tell your competitors about what your next strategy is by going to the press. Why would you even do that? Right? And you've got to do some things which are only very private to you and your organization. And over a period of time, the thesis will tell whether your decisions were right or wrong.
Yeah. Ashish, for all the young people and entrepreneurs, non-entrepreneurs, everyone, right? What has, because, and I have asked this to everyone, is what has money meant for you? And I also want to, sorry, ask another personal question, if I may. Did you come from a family of money? So did you come from
Look,
United Kingdom?
look, all of us on this probably call come from United Kingdom, because that in itself is, a lot of entrepreneurs today have this badge saying, I come from a small town and I come from a chota town, and it's a story. It's an art of storytelling to investors. Great. Good on you. You must be a salesman all your life. But yeah, even if you came from a small town, but you spoke in English, went to a university, you had medical healthcare, you're United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not kid ourselves about that. So the point is that all of us came from United Kingdom of India, and that Brazil of India and Africa of India, for somebody to catapult and come is a very, very hard, tough
Yeah.
climb, and it's up to us to make sure that we do that.
Yeah.
And within our organization, in our own little way, we do that, and we have tons of stories around that. But the
Yeah.
point is, we all came from that sort of thing. So my background is, my parents are immigrants. We are landless people in our own country. We're Sindhis. My parents came from Pakistan. They were born there, which was India, and they came at the age of 7. They came as refugees. People talk about the Jews and living in refugee camps, or people talk about Syria and Jordan. We never told our story well in India. We never end up telling your story well. My father lived in a refugee camp for 10 years in Delhi. Nobody lives in a refugee camp for 10 years. Today, you're
Yeah.
talking about the Jordanian and Syrian crisis, which is X number of months, X number of years, 10 years, right? And they lost all their belongings, their wealth. They put gold in their home thinking they'll come back in a week. They've never gone back to their homeland, right? So it was a very tough period.
Yeah.
From there, he self-educated himself in Banaras University, then went to Gorakhpur, started a business. So my parents come from UP. My mother was a school teacher in Kanpur. So I can carry that same badge. I came from small India. I came from, mid India, and we came from the Hindi heartland. We're all BS, right? But at the end of the day, I was born in a privileged home because I was born in Bombay. I went for piano lessons. I went for speech and drama classes. I had my own cycle. I went to an English school. I had public healthcare. I had, all of us had black and white TVs or no TVs. We all had only Chaya Geet and the Sunday TV to watch. It took 15 years to own your own telephone, and you had to wait 10 years to get a Bajaj bike or a Premier Padmini. We've all been through that, but we were all at the same level. Like we are dealing with this pandemic. So I was no different than anybody else. So I had a privileged life to say in that sense. And I grew up in Bombay. But from there, when I finished my MBA, then I worked for J. Walter Thompson, and I discovered that there was a world out there and I could solve this problem which hadn't been solved. And those were the early days of investing in India, or taking a bet on putting money behind a 24-year-old kid to say that, you'll go and build a business. So I had the luxury of making those mistakes, learning and discovering over a long 10-year period, where Web 2.0 really came into being in 2008, 2012, that period. So we had the luxury of getting beat up and learning along the way to be able to implement some of those. To be fair to some of the entrepreneurs, you may not have that luxury today, because when you start a business and you are not nimble, quick, fast to scale or react, there are 10 other jokers willing to invest 20 other jokers, right? And eat your lunch. And so while you may have thought of something and you want to scale it up and build it, you may not have the luxury because somebody else has thrown capital and saying, uska khana khao. Idea nahi hai, aapke paas vision nahi hai, but because that guy started this and throwing capital, now you go kill him. So I think, and I think there's a lot of that happening today. And so therefore some entrepreneurs unfortunately don't have the luxury to be able to have mentors which can guide them, or become a part of another platform, or do partnerships. And globally, you'll see that strategic partnerships are long-term partnerships which succeed. In India, we still have this ego, and we have this, what will I get? It's a very selfish sort of way of thinking. McDonald's, Coke, unbreakable partnership for years and years, and it'll 50 years and 100 years. And they keep feeding off each other to scale. And you will see that across the board. Tire manufacturers with tire guys, online companies. I don't know if that was true, but I remember there was Baskin Robbins and Dunkin' Donuts. Two different companies, but all Baskin Robbins ice creams get served at Dunkin' Donuts. And then they created recipes around it, and both succeeded. So I think you need to do a lot more collaborations, partnerships, and over a period of time. So I came from a fairly middle class background, but privileged, if you were to say that, because I had the best of the best in terms of education, extracurricular, all of that. And I was born and raised in Bombay. But look, I have traveled the length and breadth of India. I celebrate and enjoy every city, every aspect. I respect dignity of labor and people for what they are and what they do. And we constantly raise the bar for people within the organization. So to give you an example, and I think people should understand that the entire warehousing head of the company today is a guy called Sanjay Asilwal, who used to be an office boy in the company about 8 years ago. His brother works in our customer care center. We do more than 5,000 events a week. And for 500 of those events, there are handheld scanners, pharmaco devices, there's optic fiber cables, there's satellite that we need to put up, links, we have to do security cameras, there's stubbards, there's a whole load of infrastructure with inventory management that needs to rotate around the country. And the guy that runs that used to be an office boy. We trained, and eventually he's the one who leads this entire strategy under our ops team. And he runs a team of about 13 people. And he built, with external help, an entire inventory management system. And nothing has gone wrong in all these years. So this is just one story, which I can tell you, but we have tons of stories where we have upskilling and cross-skilling, which we do in the company constantly. And we train our eyes. So we have a voluntary fund in the company for our office boys and boys whose kids' education is funded for life by us. And it's a voluntary fund, and 3 people manage that. And even if they quit our organization, we continue to fund the kids' education, because our journey or our responsibility doesn't stop on the basis of their employment with us. Yeah. And then we have Mediclaim for everybody. We have insurance for everybody. There's no copay. We pay for everybody's Mediclaim, for yourself, your spouse, your kids, and your parents. So sideways, down and up. And these are just things that I feel if you do, you can put your pillow on your head in the night and sleep well. And your byproduct is your valuation, the money, and also delinking your shareholding from your executive role. Very important to delink the two. A lot of founders make this mistake where they don't take a market salary or a good enough salary home, a CTC, because they're like, this is my business. On the flip side, like, although there are many entrepreneurs who are like, how much money can I make quickly and I get out? But there are a lot of entrepreneurs who put their heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears, and they translate that into saying that I will take a 10,000 rupee salary home because this is my business, and I will get an exit, or I will make money when the company shares go up. It's a wrong strategy. Your personal wealth and your company wealth have to be delinked. And what you need to do is to make sure that your executive role and your ownership need to be delinked. The day you do that, you will start fortifying yourself to say that when things like that happen in times like these, you have to make sure that your family and your capital that you build for yourself and the capital that you build for the company are 2 separate buckets. And what you do for community and charity is a 3rd separate bucket. And until you don't compartmentalize that and you learn to treat these 3 separately. So today, while we may be cutting costs on a lot of other areas, we have opened up our purse strings and doing crores of charity, crores through our charity. But they are 2 separate buckets. I don't have to mix the 2.
Yeah. I'm learning so much. I'm sure everyone watching this and will watch this will learn so much. Ashish, I have to say, sorry, I'm just taking this time. Like, I have to tell everyone that, I had met you a year and a half or 2 back. We met at some festival, but then I had met you and I was telling you about something in Book My Show app. And what I remember very distinctly, that you had this childlike enthusiasm and curiosity to solve it. And you found someone from your team within an hour, and but you see with time people delegate it, and but what always stands out about you is this enthusiasm, this passion, this drive, and it's 20 years, and I have to ask you, and that's why I'm asking you, what is that drive? Where does it come from? Because लोग बोलते हैं हम थक गए हैं, बहुत tired हो गए हैं, बहुत मेहनत है, but वो अभी भी है, 20 साल में भी है, कैसे है?
Look, I think it's self-development and self-learning, which is very important. And it's about the joy and the effort. Many people will tell you, no pain, no gain. When you go to the gym, your gym instructor tells you that. You want to look good, but if you don't want to work out, you don't want to exercise to be able to stay fit, stay healthy, it's not going to happen by magic. And the same is in your own personality development, whether it's spiritually. I'm not a very religious person. Don't go to the temple. I'm a non-believer, but to be able to, self-develop in terms of knowing what are the right things to do in life or the right principles of living, that only comes from maybe a practice like Vedanta or anything else, right? That people want to pursue. So it's about self-development personally. It's about self-development from a physical perspective. I'm 46 today. I'm not getting younger. How do you stay fit? How do you stay mentally balanced by the people that surround yourself with people that keep you happy, who are not negative, friendships that you develop because you have a choice. How do you keep yourself engaged on learning new things, and staying true to what excites you? What still excites me is trying to solve a consumer problem. It excites me to know that you are satisfying somebody at the end of the day. When I cook a meal or if I'm baking bread, I like the reaction of saying, how was it? And then being ultra self-critical to say the spring in the bread wasn't good enough, or it was raw, or I didn't add enough starter, or my levain was not correct, or the instrument that I use. So in whatever you do, the passion is about how can you self-improve on a daily basis? How can you say that your Monday mornings were as exciting as your Friday evenings? I like going out and having a drink with friends on a Friday evening and taking my time off and completely cutting off sailing, going out with people, having a good time on a weekend and not thinking about work at all. But that enthusiasm excites me to come back on a Sunday evening. I'm not thinking, oh my God, it's Monday morning blues. Sunday evening, I'm excited about, I'm always making a to-do list, old school in my diary, on saying, here are the things that I want to do for this week. And then the product has always been a core area of excitement for me, because that's your final mile. I don't control the movie. I don't produce a movie. I don't own the cinema. I don't own anything. All I own is the consumer experience. And if anything that comes in the middle of the consumer experience, if I'm not on top of that, and if it doesn't excite me, if somebody writes to me and says, hey, listen, this is breaking because of this, and I see logic in that, I will move heaven and earth with the product teams and the design teams and the technology teams to be able to solve that. And we did certain things which were very 101 principles from day one. Everybody got excited about F Connect and Google Connect and all of that. And you created friction. Book My Show never asked you to do that from day one, because we knew we're a platform, we're open, we're a coffee shop, come sit like Starbucks, enjoy the Wi-Fi, enjoy the air conditioning work. But if you want to have a cup of coffee, please have one. And then you pay for it. So we created a frictionless platform. And only on the payment page, we take your email ID and mobile number at the time you're making a payment, so that we can serve you a ticket. But until then, we never asked you for anything.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we don't have your data to be able to then utilize it in ways which we can be helpful. So it's about those things, about you pick your passion projects and then pursue those, and then surround yourselves with people who can do the rest of the heavy lifting. And it's very important to have a great team around. And I think a large part of the folks at Book My Show don't get the credit, because unfortunately, when you're a founder and you started a business, one of the things that you do is you're always in the public eye. I try and stay away as much. I do have an Instagram account, but I've maybe posted 5 times in my life. I have a Twitter account, maybe thrice I've tweeted. So it's not that I don't have a Facebook account. So I'm not a very out there sort of person, but my job requires me to do things like these. When you call, I can't say no. So I've got to do this. But the point is, there are amazing folks at Book My Show who do a lot of heavy lifting and the thought process around launching new products. And so it becomes your job to be that people's person, to be able to recruit the talent, curate, mentor, upskill, and do those things. So right now in this COVID period, we're running so many programs. We've signed up for so many programs where we've said, we've paid for it, go and upskill, come out of this a better, more enlightened human being. Because you do have time at this point.
Yeah. If you had to say next 12 to 18 months, how would it pan out, and what advice would you give to people who are in the digital space?
Look, I think there is tremendous amount of tailwinds. The tailwinds are phenomenal. You've got, and the way I look at it, if I were to broad spectrum it out, I am saying today everybody has time. They're just sitting. They've got devices. You have to understand, and you've got to put it into perspective. When you look at PPP and you look at purchasing power in India, Your driver or your watchman may have a better phone than you and me, because that phone, he puts a disproportionate amount of his salary, where he may take a phone, he may take it on loan, will borrow from you and pay it over 12 to 24 months, but it will be the best phone that he has, because his window to the world, his transaction, his banking, his e-commerce, his TV, his music, his cinema is on that device. You
Yeah.
may have 3 TVs at home. You may have access to a cinema. You may have access to many other things. But for him, that is his life, right? That's his business. Tomorrow, maids find jobs through a mobile phone. Somebody says, get out. They'll send 10 of their friends. They'll get a job tomorrow, which is phenomenal. They've removed the information arbitrage away. And there's democracy in information. So there are tailwinds. And I think I must mention, Geo is doing some phenomenal work with a number of it's just been revolutionary, right? Their data pipe, as well as the number of subscriptions, and at the price point. So that's helping. The other, I think, the biggest revolution that has been in the world, I think, has been our UPI platform, the United Payments Interface. Man, other countries are waking up to this, because they've been sitting on old, clunky, crappy modes of technology and payment. Still using a card and tapping, you're still, doing bank transfers. UPI just revolutionized it. Said, listen, this is the BIPs. I'm removing all costs. You have a bank account, that guy has a bank account, you have a payment, you have a number, there is a scanner and a barcode. I mean, just look what it's done, and put everybody at par. You can hook up to UPI and do what you want. And I think, given the tailwinds that people are sitting at home, you have a device, you have cheap data and connectivity, and you have a payments mechanism, what is going to come out of it is going to be short of revolutionary. And what I mean by that is not about businesses like ours and the folks that are listening, but it's going to be livelihood. It's going to be, today, just think about it. Drivers used to get paid and were overexploited with salaries of 5,000 and 7,000 rupees 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Today, you cannot retain a driver at 20, 25,000. I'm so glad that 5x has been the increase in salary, purely because he has information at the tip of his hand. He can either go on to Ola and Uber and become a driver and earn more and be an entrepreneur. Or if you tell him, I'm paying you so much, he can check with 20 of his friends and saying, what are you getting paid? Yeah. And so a guy in Indore and Jaipur who's trying to exploit a driver there and pay him 10 grand, he can check with his friend in Bombay and saying, listen, I'm getting 20. So, that information arbitrage has been removed. And therefore, it's improving livelihood and lives of people. And I think at scale, where farmers are now being able to disrupt and saying, the middleman and the distributor needs to be removed. Can I get my goods through a cold chain and distribution chain? I think that in itself, given this, is going to completely revolutionize things, that a way of working and things that are going to happen in India. I'm seeing it with elderly parents who are 70 plus are now know how to do video calls and talk to their kids. Younger kids are doing homeschooling at the age of 5 and 7, and schools have adapted to that. Yeah. So I look at the edge cases in the spectrum where people are now adopting technology, and that means that quantum and the number of people that are going to come onto this fold is going to be phenomenal. Now, how do you take advantage of that? What do you do will be based on every entrepreneur's self journey.
Yeah. Ashish, I said that was the last question, but I have to ask you, what drives you? How can we be like you, like running a business for 20 years and have the same kind of energy and passion and be like, no, I'm genuinely asking. This is like a very honest question. Give us a real answer. How, मतलब 20 साल तक कर करके और ऐसे कैसे?
But look, I don't look at it like that, right? And I look at the journey itself. Was it, and I'm being a little philosophical here, I look at the journey itself. Was it fun? Was I at the right time at the right place? Sure. Have I met some incredible people along the way, including you? Have I been fortunate enough to get a payback through all these experiences? And if you look at and remind yourselves every day about that, I mean, why would I want to change anything that my life? So if somebody says, what's your bucket list? I'm saying, I'm living it, right? Wow. Why would I change this? Do I take 4 or 5 vacations? Am I fortunate? Do I have enough? And what do you need enough for, right? And anything external, the joy of it's a diminishing joy of return. You buy a car today, you buy a bigger one. Your first car that you bought, which was there, it gave you joy for maybe 6 months because it was the first thing that you bought. After 20 years, you bought probably your 20th car. in 1 week, it's just another mode of transport. However sexy and good and great that car is, however expensive it is. So anything external will never give you that joy, because it's always going to be. I still have a 9-year-old beat up Yeti 4x4 stick shift car. I still retain. I have other cars, obviously, but that's the car that gives me my greatest joy, because it's got tremendous power. It's got all the things that I need. I like going off-roading. I like going to my farm. It gives me great joy, even today. So you've got to be able to find things in that journey which give you that pleasure on waking up every day and saying, would I change any of this? The day your equation of Monday morning, the metric of Monday morning versus Friday evening changes, then stop doing one of the two. So if your Friday evenings are a chore, and you don't look forward to your weekends, then you're not doing the right thing on the weekends. You're not meeting the right people. You don't have the right friends. You have an issue with your family. Change what you need to. And if your Monday mornings are a chore, then your work is not good enough. So change that. So, I mean, those are the only two metrics of your measures of Friday evening versus Monday morning.
Wow. Wow. What a pleasure. Huge respect. Big fan. Thank you so much. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thanks. Lovely talking to you. Bye.